The time is officially 9 a.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you have any electronic devices, please silence them. This is MetroPlan Orlando meeting. Today is November the 12th, 2025. It's important that when you do speak into the microphone directly. And if you are, please hit the speak button so that your voice will be properly recorded. We'll have two opportunities to speak publicly today. One in the beginning of the meeting under the general items on the agenda. Items that are not on the agenda and general nature be spoken in comments at the end. We do have speaker cards that are by the door. And if you are online, we have digital cards. Please fill them out. Please give us your name and address for the record, and you'll be given 2 minutes. I would like to ask Mayor Pat Bates from the city of Altamont to lead us in the pledge. Can we all stand, please? Mayor?
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know that we probably don't have a quorum just yet, but we're going to be working on that. So we'll go through the non-voting items first. We have several things that we can do. I would like to talk about, under my comments, at the last MetroPlan meeting, I did talk about a peer exchange that we're going to be having with Hillsborough County and Pinellas County and Pasco County MPOs. That took place on October 27th. I'd like to thank all of you that did participate. It was a great exchange. It's nice to see 3 different MetroPlans try to come together and form one. And they were very intrigued on how MetroPlan Orlando worked and how everyone had an equal voice and how everyone had an opportunity to speak. I thought it went rather well, and the comments we heard back from the people that were there were very pleased that we're able to allow them to come and have peer exchange with us. At this time, I'd like to ask the executive director to his comments. Gary?
Good morning, Chairman Delary and board members. This morning, I believe that we're joined by Mayor Woodruff and Mayor Espinosa online. The blind experience this year was held on October 15th, and it was held at the Orange County Administration Building. We have a short video that we want to show you on that.
The Blind Experience 2025 welcomed over 75 people from across the Central Florida region to celebrate White Cane Safety Day and learn about the pedestrian experience of the visually impaired and blind. Under the White Cane Safety Law, drivers must stop and give right-of-way to blind pedestrians using a white cane or a guide dog. The Blind Experience gave sighted participants the chance to navigate a busy pedestrian crossing and intersection with impaired vision or none at all. Some of the participants shared their experience.
I just thought it was a really important experience. It was very disorienting. I felt a little anxious and a sense of full dependency on someone.
And when we talk about the blind, we still have, I noticed that even the intersection where we're doing the exercise, there was no auditive artifact in order to help them. So we need to make sure that anything and everything that has to do with ADAs, we take care of.
The work to spread awareness of the White Cane Safety Law continues. Thank you to our government and community partners for your help and support of this event, as well as all of the people who came to take part in the Blind Experience.
Okay, so thank you, our communications team, for providing that. We also had a successful public meeting at the Pine Hills Multicultural Center on September 29th, and that was for our long-range plan update. Taylor will be saying some more about that later this morning on her agenda item. Since our last meeting, I've attended the Association of MPOs national meeting, as well as the National Association of Regional Councils, a meeting. At both of those meetings, there was significant discussion on the reauthorization. Just to remind you, the current federal bill expires at the end of September next year, so work is underway on that. I've also attended the Lake to Lake Regional Trail meeting in Tallahassee back on October 13th. Just to remind you that Senate Bill 106 really empowers and encourages MPOs to take a leading role in guiding the regional trails referenced in that bill. I believe that we are the first MPO to be starting that process. Later that same week, on the 16th, we hosted about 20 individuals here for the first Lake to Lake Regional Trail Workshop. Each of the 3 counties provided details of their trail plans and agreed to work on a conceptual alignment for the Lake to Lake Trail. It will become part of each jurisdiction's comprehensive plan, as well as the MetroPlan long-range plan that you'll be approving next month. And Virginia and I continue to meet with some of the project stakeholders on that. Most recently was last Wednesday to discuss a draft timeline for work that we anticipate next year in 2026. And then we met with FDOT staff last Friday to bring them into the discussion and to make sure we are working together on the project. I'll continue to keep board members informed of that as it moves forward. Legislatively, we're already watching a couple of bills. House Bill 283 by Representative Alvarez, which deals with school zone and pedestrian safety. And then House Bill 243 by Representatives Benarrock, Kendall, and Blanco that deals with e-bikes and scooters. It's a timely, since we've been discussing that. It's been mentioned at several of the last board meetings about what we need to do on that. But under House Bill 243, an interesting component of that is that any e-bike that's capable of traveling at 28 miles per hour or equipped with a motor of 750 watts or more would be reclassified as an electric motorcycle. That means that those bikes would need to be registered, riders would be required to have a license, and they would have to stay off sidewalks and bike lanes. I want to thank board members as well for making the Pure Exchange a success back on October 27th. We had great participation from the board members, and I know that those 3 MPOs appreciated that. Your supplemental folders this morning include 3 items that should be of interest to you and your staff. First is a copy of the Lot Coalition's November 4th letter to on the reauthorization of the federal bill to congressional committee leadership. That's there for your information. Next is the white paper that MetroPlan staff recently completed. We've mentioned this to some of you in the past, but it got finalized. It's intended for transportation professionals, policymakers, and it outlines current trends in addressing e-mobility. So I hope you can find the time to read it. As an alternative to reading that entire document, the last safety speaker series that we held deals with a lot of those issues, and you can find that on our YouTube channel if you just want to listen to that discussion. The final item is a DOT notice of a public meeting on the Moving I-4 Forward initiative. That meeting is scheduled for November 18th, and it will be held in Kissimmee. And then finally, under Chairman Delary, under agenda review, each year we bring, either at the November or December board meetings, we bring the draft schedule of the upcoming year's meetings to you. And I just want to highlight that next year, the November meeting falls on Veterans Day, so we had to look for an alternative to that. We considered the week before having it a week early and a week, then secondly, we considered a week later. We chose to get it on your calendars for November 18th. So we're taking a look at all of the meetings throughout the year and seeing if we need to have it when the time comes. But for now, we'd like you to hold November 18th for that meeting. Chairman Delary, that completes my announcements, and there are no other changes to the agenda.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hutton? Okay. I would like to, at this time, give a thanks to all the jurisdictions that provided resolutions of support well, a letter of support for FDOT's pursuing additional funding for the I-4 St. John's River Bridge as part of the Beyond the Ultimate project going from Seminole County to Volusia County. Also want to thank the mayor of the land, Chris Cloudman, for agreeing to bring that forward to the Central Florida MPO Alliance on October the 10th. We can now provide a resolution and submit it to FDOT and try to move forward for the upcoming years. I want to thank everyone for their participation and support for doing that. I'd also now like to ask Mr. Mike Wilson to present to us our monthly safety moment. Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Just finished up Pedestrian Safety Month in October, and rather than give a little bit of advice on how to be safe, I want to share some good news from our trend data. And that is that we've seen a very significant drop in pedestrian fatalities in 2024 and in this year. The 2025 data is based on projection, based on the first half of the year, but you can see how much we've dropped. And the decline is really due to reduction in alcohol and drug use. You can see the blue section of the chart there, pedestrian involved alcohol, and orange in the drugs. And that, dropped off significantly. And we've seen similar drops on the driver side of things, that impaired motorists involved in pedestrian crashes way down. I've also included hit and run here because it's reasonable to assume that a fair amount of those would have been impaired drivers. And then when we look at just across the board crashes, that we see that alcohol and drug reduction happening there as well. And this corresponds to data that's been coming in about alcohol consumption nationwide. There's been a significant drop, especially in the younger cohorts. When I looked at the crash data, those 18 to 30, we had a 70% drop in impaired fatality crashes, compared with 30% for the other age groups. So seeing a real positive trend in that respect. And to kind of encapsulate the numbers here, you see impaired pedestrian fatalities down by nearly 90%, while the unimpaired pedestrian fatalities were actually up slightly. So it's really this drop in alcohol and drugs that's responsible for the drop. And then impaired driver, again, down by 45%, and for across the board for all modes similarly. So that's our good news safety moment for this month. Be happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, Michael.
Right.
Okay, and I'd like to ask Commissioner Reby, the MPOAC met on October 23rd. The commissioner is the chair of the statewide group, and she has a report for us. Commissioner?
Thank you, Chairman. The MPOAC Governing Board did meet and the staff directors on October 23rd here in Orlando. Minutes of the July 24th MPOAC Joint Staff Directors and Governing Board meeting were approved. And the new MPOAC Legal Counsel, Jeanette Smith from the firm of Weiss, Sirota, Helfman, Cole, and Berman was introduced to the board. I provided a report of my experience attending the AMPO annual meeting conference in Providence, Rhode Island. A number of Florida MPOs were there to present, including our very own MetroPlan Orlando, Sarasota MPO, and Broward. They each shared their experience at the AMPO conference. We had a report from the executive director that included the MPOAC Institute, which has been very successful, and we are planning to have one here in Orange County in the spring. Comments on her MPO visits throughout the state, a 2026 budget review, the 2026 meeting dates, and upcoming activities. I also had the pleasure, we also received updates from FDOT, Florida Highway, and FTA. I also had the pleasure of joining the Florida Commission on Transportation conference in Tallahassee last Monday. Missed you, Secretary Tyler. And also attended the Miami-Dade Transportation Industry Forum with the mayor of Miami-Dade and many of the 13 commissioners that are there. The next MPOAC meeting will be January 28th here in Orlando. I'd like to formally invite everyone on this board. Our keynote speaker will be Secretary Perdue that day. And we'd love to hear an update of what the legislative session will be entailing. And I'm very excited because we just had legislation introduced this week that'll be putting SpaceX under the MPOAC moving forward. So hopefully if that goes through, that would actually go into effect July of this year. So very exciting times for transportation. Honored to be a part of it. And honestly, look, I hope you guys will look at that. So, January 28th, it'll be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the Florida Hotel. Secretary Purdue will be with us as our keynote speaker.
Great.
Thank you.
Any questions for the commissioner? Thank you very much. This time move on to agency report. We have Goer, the executive director. Lance, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your airport.
Thank you for having me here this morning. So just a brief overview of the presentation outline. I'll talk a little bit about myself very briefly. I'll give an overview of what we're doing at the airport. And then there are two primary areas that we're focusing on right now. One is tactical, what we're going to do over the next 1, 2, 3 years. And then the other one is strategic, what we're doing over the next 5, 10 years. And we have a vision video. It's still just a preview that we'll share right at the end of the presentation. Yeah, am I going the right way? Okay. So just briefly, I've been in this position just a little bit over 7 months right now. Before that, I served in a similar position as the managing director at the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Prior to that, I was the chief operating officer at the 3 airports in Houston. And before that, I served as the chief information officer and also the assistant general manager at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, which is the busiest airport in the world. That's where my private sector and aviation career started. Prior to that, I worked in the private sector in the aluminum mining industry, a company called Alcon that was headquartered in Montreal. And then before that, I also worked as a consultant in the technology industry as well. So briefly, airport overview. These are the priorities based on the feedback that we have gotten from passengers, from the community, from tenants, from our airlines, etc. These are the top priorities that I'll be talking about. So just briefly, I'll go over the governance structure, which most of you might know already, who we are, state of the airport, some of the uniqueness of the airport, airline routes, and we have a very exciting one that we want to talk about, and a quick financial overview. So as you know, the board members, we have 7 board members, 5 are appointed by the governor of the state of Washington, and 2 by way of their position as the mayor of the city of Orlando and the mayor of Orange County. And I see several of my board members here. I feel like I have a quorum. So who are we? So we are, of course, Florida's airport of choice. We are the busiest airport in Florida, 57.2 million passengers last year. Year before, we had 57.7 million passengers. That's the highest that we have ever had in the history of MCO. We're also the world's largest rental car market, and we're the 4th largest airport by landmass. So Denver, DFW, and Washington Dulles are the other 3 airports that's physically bigger than us. As I said, 57.2 million passengers, 49.4 of those are domestic passengers, and approximately 15% are international passengers. We're a huge economic engine for this region. By way of direct, indirect, and induced activities, we account for over $41 billion annually of economic impact in the region, and well over 300,000 jobs. Our cargo, we're just roughly over 222,000 short ton, not very high for airport of our size, definitely nothing compared to, say, Miami or Las Vegas, which has much higher, or sorry, Memphis rather, that has much higher tonnage than we do. Also, Orlando Executive Airport, which is our general aviation airport, we have over 182,000 operations, and operations are takeoff and landings. We're one of the, of course, unique thing about MCO, we're the only airport in the USA that has a high-speed rail coming directly into the airport. That makes us unique. It's a very good product. I've tried it, and any trip to anywhere in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, more than likely is gonna be on the Bright Line for me. Okay, so these are the domestic destinations that we serve, 116 domestic destinations via 12 airlines, as you can see, far more than Tampa, Miami, and Florida, the other major airports in the state of Florida. And sorry, Fort Lauderdale, rather. Also, 55 direct flights to international destinations via 32 airlines. And the really big one, this point that I want to point out, if you can see it, can't see it here, is actually, if you look to the left, is Japan. That's a huge deal for us. So in February and March next year, we're going to have a charter flight from Tokyo to MCO. That's going to be the very first flight, direct flight, passenger flight from Asia to anywhere in the state of Florida. It has never happened before. It's a huge, huge accomplishment for us. And I just want to say kudos to my air service development lead, Vicky Harmareo, and her team. I think it's a fantastic thing for the airport, but also a really fantastic thing for the state of Florida as well. And we're hoping that this charter flight will result in regular scheduled flights in the future. Financials, we're just short of $1 billion in total revenues for MCO. Our operating expense is over $600,000. Most of our non-aero revenue, that's a revenue that we generate outside of the airlines activities, come from parking and also from a rent-a-car. And that's unique for us, where rent-a-car revenue is the highest single source of revenues. In most airports in the USA, it's actually parking. So again, that goes to the fact that we have the largest rent-a-car market in the USA. At ORL, our General Aviation Airport, our revenues are just short of $8 million, operating expense $4.6 million. Our CIP, Capital Improvement Program, for MCO is just shy of $6 billion. And I'll talk about some of the projects just real quickly that's included in that CIP, and also the $84 million CIP for ORL as well. So as I said, we have this long-term vision, which I'm going to show a video of what we're going to do, how the airport is going to look and feel like in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. But we have some issues and challenges that we need to address like right now, in the next year, next 2 years, next 3 years. And so this is our tactical focus. And again, as I said, based on the feedback that I've gotten from passengers, from the community, from the stakeholders at the airport, parking, baggage handling, gates, walking distance, and C in particular, and facilities upgrade, facilities maintenance, those are the key areas. So parking, we have solutions inside. We're doing the parking guidance system right now in Terminal C. That should be completed by the end of the year, and then we'll do it also for Terminal AB. South parking, just adjacent to where the 7-Eleven, we're going to repave that lot rather, and have additional parking there. We have reserved parking in Terminal C. We're going to extend that over to Terminal A and B as well. You can reserve your parking space before you get to the airport. And the big one, we're going to add 8,000 parking spaces. That will resolve our parking issues for the next 10 to 15 years. So we're going to add 3,700 parking spaces at the AB that you can see on the chart, and then at C, we're going to add an additional 5,300 parking. So that should solve our long-term parking issues. Baggage handling system, we have what we call pods, 5 disparate systems. And many of you might have had some issues with your bags. So a solution is on the way. We're going to be implementing a integrated baggage handling system. So you'll be able to check your bags in at any ticket counter, anywhere at the airport, and it will get to any aircraft anywhere at the airport. So it's a single integrated baggage handling system. So that's to come. South Terminal, currently we are adding gates. We're adding 8 what we call narrow body equivalent gates, or 4 wide body gates. Wide body aircraft are the one that has the 2 aisles. The narrow body are the one that has the single aisle. So that's going to be completed first quarter next year. So we'll have additional gates on C. In gray on the board as well, you can also see, I'm not sure what my pointer is, but you can also see that we completed that move inside, the pedestrian bridge, which I'll speak about a little as well. The long-term plan for the airport, what we call Terminal C right now, the long-term plan is to actually change the name to Terminal 2, and what we initially envisioned as Terminal D, to name that to Terminal 3, and the AB Terminal 1 is very confusing here in the airport, and someone is, oh, where's Terminal A? You're like, well, you're right here. Where's B? Well, it's right here. It's just really one terminal. So we're going through that process. We're going to be changing the name to Terminal 1 and of our north-south side. It's going to take a while, but it will get rid of all the confusion. And you'll see that as part of our master plan in the future. And speaking of master plan, this is where we are with the MCO master plan. Right now, we have gone through the inventory, the condition assessment, the activity forecast with the FAA reviewed, et cetera. And for MCO, right now, we're going through the facility requirements. For ORL, we're in the preferred alternative phase. And Brad is here, I think, somewhere, sometime earlier. Yes, can answer a whole lot of questions on those. So this is the long-awaited pedestrian bridge. So you no longer have to walk all the way. If you're going from the train station to C, you don't have to go through the parking garage anymore, especially in July or August when it's like 90-something degrees and it's humid, or no, when it's really cold, right? So we have a conditioned space that you can get to. We also have moving sidewalks. The moving sidewalks right now, they're short, they're going to be extended, so they're going to get longer as well. We also have moving sidewalk that we installed recently. When you get through on C, when you get through the security checkpoints, we have moving sidewalk, and we have other areas in Terminal C again that we're going to be adding additional moving sidewalk as part of our conveyance system. We have gotten feedback from the community. Terminal C is beautiful, it's nice, but the walking distance, that's where the problem is, and that's why we're focusing so much on that. Our concessions program, we get a lot of feedback. Again, Terminal C is really nice, but A, B, not so hot. So we're doing restrooms, we're doing a concessions program. We're going to do a total renovation of the air sides, 1, 2, and 3, and also the main atrium area as well. So it won't be as big as C, but you'll have that look and feel that we have in C when the concessions program is done. Also, when we do the renovation, we're going to change the interior, the seat and the wayfinding. I know some of you are really, really attached to the carpet. Some of the carpet is going to go, especially in the areas that we walk and we move stuff, but we will still have the carpet in the areas that you sit and you wait, the areas that you're not moving. So the carpet will still be there, but it's going to really have that look and feel like Terminal C, a brand new facility. The train system, again, is also part of the lifeblood of the airport. We're renovating the train system at gate 70 to 129. We'll be running new surfaces, power, changing out the entire system, having bigger cars, quieter, nicer vehicles as well to move you from the airsides back to the main terminal. And restrooms. Ironically, when people ask me what's one of the most difficult part of managing an airport, it's actually keeping the restrooms clean, right? So you clean this restroom and then flight comes in, and then it's as if the restroom was never cleaned before. So cleaning restrooms on a schedule is no longer the way to do it. So with the restrooms that we just implemented and the ones that we're going to implement are smart restrooms. So they'll have the technology to tell us, well, 50 people just use the restroom. There's no more soap. You need to change exactly this, etc. And in addition to that, we actually have a robot we have robots that we use to clean the terminal at night, but we actually have this robot that's here. It's arrived here, and we're actually going to be piloting and testing this as well. So we can have more flexibility in terms of how often we clean the restroom. So some of these things might seem like it's Star Trek or Jetsons, but no, it's actually right here. So strategic focus, as I said, those are the things tactically that we're going to be focusing on, but we also have a very ambitious 5-year, 10-year plan that the board just recently approved. And so I'm just going to end here by just showing you a preview of a video of previewing what the airport is going to look and feel like and how it's going to operate in the next 5-10 years. Some of these things might seem like, as I said, Jetson and Star Trek, but everything that you see here is either functioning right now at some airport here in the USA or around the world, or the technology will be in place within the next year or two. So I'm just going to start with to show you the closing with this vision video.
From above, the airport of the future comes into view. A modern multimodal hub designed to make every journey smoother, faster, and more enjoyable. Travelers will have more choices than ever before when arriving. Whether by car, automated people mover, light rail, high-speed train, or even by air taxi, every option connects directly to the terminal. Dedicated vertiports welcome the next generation of electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, creating fast regional connections never before possible. As you approach, the experience is framed by thoughtfully designed landscapes filled with lush greenery and local fauna that bring a sense of place and welcome from the very start. For those who drive, parking has never been easier. With the airport app, you can reserve a space in advance or follow the parking guidance system to the closest available spot. Convenience begins before you even step inside. Once inside, travelers can choose how they move through the airport. The new biometric system is optional, giving passengers the choice to opt in for a faster, hands-free experience. Those who participate can check in, drop bags, pass security, and board seamlessly using facial recognition. The process is designed to enhance efficiency while maintaining privacy and ensuring every traveler feels comfortable and in control. Enhanced flight information display systems keep travelers up to date with real-time updates, while digital wayfinding ensures smooth navigation. For those who need additional support, new autonomous wheelchair technology offers independence and ease of movement from curbside to gate. Comfort continues throughout the journey. Smart modern restrooms provide space, privacy, and cleanliness designed for today's traveler. Dining and shopping are reimagined. Concessions can be ordered ahead of time, paid for with your phone, and picked up without waiting in line. Personalized retail tailors recommendations and offers, ensuring every traveler finds exactly what they need. For families, immersive play areas bring a touch of theme park magic into the terminal. Virtual and augmented reality create engaging spaces that make time before departure memorable. For those seeking calm, new lounges and hold rooms offer comfort, technology, and space to relax or work before takeoff. Every detail of this transformation is designed with the passenger in mind. Seamless, efficient, memorable. This is more than an airport. It's a place where the journey itself becomes part of the destination.
So thank you. So just real quick, I've been in Washington State for the last 9 years, and my fact checker just told me that I made a mistake. So I said that the 5 board members were appointed by the governor of the state of Washington. So correction, it's the state of Florida. For the record, please, thank you on that one.
Well, Lance, thank you for that correction. I'm sure that people paying attention appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. Thanks to my fact checker here for me. Thank you. Any
Any questions
questions?
from the board members?
Just have one.
This one,
Yes, Mayor.
Lance, so with the, what do you think the total, the range of investment, the cost of investments that you will make over the next few years?
Over the next 5 years, it's going to be $5.9 billion. Billion with a B, yes, yes. And that's in the CIP that the board approved.
Anyone else? Yes,
Yeah.
Commissioner?
It's a pleasure to meet you and thank you for the presentation. I did want to ask, as we were talking about parking, how do you feel about connecting the Sunrail to the airport? That's been something that we feel that would take a lot of the ridership and parking at the airport and could ease transportation in and out. So just your thoughts on that.
Funny you should say that. That's actually, if you look at if you have a chance, you go on our website and you look at the presentation that was done by each of the department, that's actually one of the specific goals that we have with a SMART goal associated with it. So that's definitely a part of the plan. Brad is here as well. He just presented that recently at our board meeting.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Well, Lance, thank you for your present.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
In terms of micro mobility, have you, in school zones, we're getting complaints from people who are using micro, e-bikes and such, where they're going faster than the 20 miles per hour. And it's not just, it's kids, it's also just regular people. Oh, this is the airport.
Oh, okay. I was like, shoosh.
I'm so sorry.
At this time, I don't think the airport has any jurisdiction.
Like,
Yeah. Sorry.
no, that's okay.
Lance, do you have any input?
My apologies.
No, that's okay.
Far east and have to drop kids off, so I came in late and just heard micro mobility and was talking to the school board member on the way. Thank you.
That's okay. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Stephanie?
Chair, I just want to say it's a breath of fresh air to have Lance at the airport.
Yeah.
He walks that airport every day. He pays attention to the detail. I just feel like we're heading in a great direction and look forward to his continued leadership and hope that y'all can help support us as we move this airport forward. Because that charter flight to Japan is a big deal for our
Big
whole
deal.
state. I mean, Miami's been working on that as well for a long time, and this is the team that delivered it. So hope we can count on everyone's support as Lance and his team move this airport forward.
But whatever we can do as a region, please let us know. As a region, we need to help not just all our airports, but we need to act as one on so many different levels. And Orlando is the major airport, so we're definitely all, I believe, all behind you. I'll tell you my personal experience. You know, I do fly some domestic, but also international, and I really appreciate what we have here after going other places. And I know you spoke about luggage, but it's always nice to know when my coming into Orlando, I can count on my luggage being here where it doesn't go somewhere else. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So,
Mr. Chair, just,
yes, Mayor.
one last question, you know, with the government shutdown,
Mhm.
there have been some impacts on the airport. Can you kind of give just a broad overview of what you expect within the next few days?
Yeah, well, we have been fortunate to have our TSA members, kudos to them. They show up even though they're not getting paid. We have our air traffic controllers showing up. There was this one day a couple of weeks ago on a Friday when we had a shortage of staff in the TRACON. But apart from that, they have showed up pretty much every day. We have had cancellations, but there's no major impact at the airport. We have the media camping out at the airport pretty much every single day because they're looking for a story. But the team, both our federal partners as well as the airlines and the GOA team, has just showed up and they've been working very hard just to not have long lines or to mitigate the impact. Now, if this goes on any further, then the impact may get more and more severe. So we're hoping that the shutdown will end quickly and we can get back to normal.
Each day, kind of what's the average cancellation of flights or delays?
I think we were at some days we have over 100 cancellations, which is a lot.
And we, of course, we're about to approach the holidays, so we hope that.
We
this
hope
gets
it
resolved quickly.
it ends before the holiday because then it gets really, really challenging at that point. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to apologize to Councilmember Gilbert. I didn't realize that you were here. My mistake. He sits on the Central Florida MPO Alliance. They did meet on October the 10th. Councilmember, do you have a report for us, please?
Well, thank you, Chair. I think I lost 6 pounds, so you might not be able to see it. I'm still 270, so it might be hard.
Either that or
I
I need to get my vision checked again.
Well, we met on October 10th. Our action items included electing the 2026 officers. Councilmember Mimi Hanley, Space Coast TPO, she's going to be our chair. Mayor Pro Tem Brian Yates, Polk TPO is the vice chair, and Commissioner Michelle Stone, Ocallum, Marion TPO secretary. We had approval of the minutes of the previous meeting and then approval of the 2026 CFMPOA meeting schedule. Approved the resolution supporting the expedited completion and improvements of the I-4 St. John's River Bridge. We received presentations from the Military Installation Readiness Review, or MIRR, the Central Florida MPO Alliance Regional Indicators, and a safety program update from the Volusia Flagler TPO. Our next meeting will be February 13th, 2026 here at MetroPlan, Orlando, and this concludes my report.
Any questions? Thank you. And again, I apologize. At this time, we'll ask for the report from the Commissioner Janer for the CFCRC met on October 23rd. Commissioner?
Good morning, everybody. The Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission met on October 23rd. and a quorum was present. Our action items was approval of the July meeting minutes. We adopted the final budget. We also approved the locally funded agreement amendment 1. More notable, we approved train schedule changes, which added new revenue service for northbound and southbound train in the evening that would otherwise be making a deadhead trip. The latest trains now depart at 9:55 p.m. and arrive at 11:38 p.m. We also approved BOGO ticket sales for Black Friday. We had agency updates, which included an update on key topics such as the America 250 train wrap and displays, Rail Safety Week successes, corporate engagement, and marketing updates. Ridership continues to grow. Average daily ridership from July to September 2025 was 4,872, which is a 5% increase from the same period in 2024. The TAC, Lynx, and Votran also provided updates to the Commission. Our next CFCRC board meeting is scheduled for December 4th at 1:30 p.m. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the Commissioner? Thank you, Commissioner. This time we'll go to FDOT Secretary.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, board members. It's good to see everybody again. It's a beautiful day. I do want to recognize one of my counterparts on the FDOT executive team is here with us today, Nicola LaCurie. She's the executive director for Florida's Turnpike. So we do have some transportation, some FDOT updates on the agenda later today. So I'm gonna dive right on into one of the things that I wanted to talk about this morning was basically getting to safety, and it's something that's already been talked about this morning. That's micromobility devices and e-bikes. And Chairman, I mean, you had some conversations with me earlier in the summer that you actually brought my attention to something that was just peripherally on my radar, and you've kind of drug it, to the forefront of my mind. So thank you for that. I wanted to kind of share some context of some of the things that I've personally learned as we've gone through the summer. So e-bike crashes are a growing concern. Serious traumatic brain and orthopedic injuries are occurring frequently. Crashes are being reported in every single county here in Central Florida, with teen riders being prevalent victims. We also got some data from the Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children. So far this year, they are seeing a 218% increase over 2024 in traumatic injuries for teenage riders. 72 crashes through August. 33 through that same time last year. So it is definitely a growing concern, and even more disturbing, less than 20% of those were wearing helmets. So it's, people are getting hurt on these devices when they're out using them on our roadway system. So many communities are responding to these increases by creating regulations and their own local ordinances. They're addressing things like age limits, where they can ride, as well as speed limits for these devices on their facilities. We're also starting to see legislation being filed. Director Hutman, touched on that. And I do believe that these bills we're going to see more of these bills. And as we all know, these bills do have a life of their own once they start working their way through session. But, so far, they're looking at addressing the classification of these vehicles, the licensing and operation requirements, increasing education and testing, for your driver's license, as well as crash reporting, because, these devices and, they do not fit neatly in our crash reporting statistics. So you have to really mine those nuggets of insight, out of them. So a lot of work is going on both at the local level, and I think we're going to see that at the state level as we move through this legislative session. So what is FDOT working on? What can we be doing now? What we're doing now is we are working on an e-bike safety campaign. You've seen several of our targeted safety campaigns, over time, like the Move Over law, as well as impaired driving. So we're going to focus on trying to provide some resources that all of us can use, not just DOT, but every single local government partner, school, board district, law enforcement partner, to be able to use these materials. So we're preparing some information brochures, some videos, some social media resources. And then once we have those items developed, we'll be having some targeted events, at the schools, as well as e-bike shops, around Central Florida, trying to get the message out and help people understand, the gravity of what can happen when you're not, using these facilities and this equipment in an appropriate manner. So we'll be sure to share this with you as we develop it. But thank you, Mr. Chairman, for bringing this to my attention, and it has got some action back in DeLand. So thank you for that. With that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Secretary, for understanding this issue and for taking action. Mr. Hutman, can you make sure that all members of MetroPlan, including the school boards, receive this information? I know DOT is going to do that, but it'd be nice if we just make sure that we're all focused on this as it's available.
Yes, Chairman, we can follow up on that. And I was informed that the Senate Transportation Committee is having a meeting specifically on e-mobility on November 18th.
Okay.
And that's at Virginia 130. Okay.
Can you let all our staff members be aware of that as well?
Yes, we'll send that out as well.
Questions from the board? Secretary, thank you for your leadership. Okay, at this time, we'll go for the roll call and confirmation of quorum. Lisa?
Harrington.
Here.
Bates.
Here.
Constantine.
Here.
Gomez Cordero. Delari.
Here.
Demmings.
Here.
Dyer. Espinosa. Gilbert.
Here.
Grieve.
Here.
Janer.
Here.
Capalusis.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Simrad.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Jordan Smith. Mr. Stephen Smith. Ortiz. Uribe. Wilson. Woodruff.
Here.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the roll call, and we do have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go to committee reports, Municipal Advisory Committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Municipal Advisory Committee met on November 6th. We approved our September 4th meeting minutes. We recommended approval of the TIP amendments for the fiscal year 25-26 to fiscal year 29-30 Transportation Improvement Program. We also approved the draft 2026 board and committee meeting schedule, with the exception of the December meeting, which conflicts with the League of Cities meeting. We received 3 presentations. The first one was status update on the 2050 MTP, FDOT District 5 Tentative Work Program, and the Florida Turnpike's Enterprise Tentative Work Program. Our next MAC meeting is in December, to be determined due to scheduling conflicts of the members of the committee. And that concludes my report.
Good. Thank you, Commissioner. Any questions from the board? Lisa, do we have any hands raised?
No hands raised.
Thank you. This time we'll go to the Community Advisory Committee.
Sorry. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. I am Nelisa Council, representing the Community Advisory Committee. At its October 22nd meeting, the CAC did not have an in-person quorum and was unable to vote on action items. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the meeting because of the last-minute emergency. The Vice Chair, Ms. Judy Pizzo, led the meeting. The committee heard updates on the 2050 MetroPlan Transportation Plan and received information on the Florida Department of Transportation District 5 work program and the work program for Florida's Turnpike Enterprise. The next regular CAC meeting will be December 3rd, 2025, when the committee will elect leadership for 2026. And that will conclude my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions from the board members? Lisa, we have any hands raised?
No hands raised.
Thank you. This time we'll go to the Technical Advisory Committee.
Good morning, Chair and board members. Technical Advisory Committee met a few weeks ago on October 24th. Like some of the other advisory committees, we met in person with the physical quorum present. Our action items, all of which were unanimously approved or recommended for your approval, included our August 22nd, 2025 meeting minutes, amendment to the Transportation Improvement Program, draft 2026 committee meeting schedule, and appointment of our officers selection and bylaws review subcommittee. There were 3 comment presentations shared. A status update on the 2050 MTP, FDOT District 5 tentative work program, Florida's Turnpike tentative work program as well. There was one TAC-only presentation, a discussion on the 2050 MTP box funds application process. And during member comments, members discussed the Lynx customer satisfaction survey and the City of Orlando's Vision Zero progress report. There were no public comments received. Our next meeting is December 5th, 2025 at 10 a.m. I believe this will be my last update. It's been an honor. If not, you all get to hear from me next month, and then that will be my last update. And this concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure hearing from you. Is there anyone on the board have any questions or comments? Lisa, do we have any hands raised?
No hands raised.
Thank you. This time we go to the Transportation System Management and Operation Advisory Committee.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. The Transportation System Management and Operations TSMO Advisory Committee met on October 24th, 2025. 4 items were approved at the meeting. The first item was the minutes from the August 22nd meeting. The second item was staff's request to approve amendments to the fiscal 2025-26 through fiscal 29-30 TIP. A letter from FDOT explaining the requested amendments is included in the agenda today. Next, we approved MetroPlan Orlando staff's request to appoint an officer selection subcommittee to identify candidates to serve as the TSMO chairman and vice chairman from January through December of 2026. The last item we approved was the 2026 MetroPlan Orlando board and committee meeting schedule. We had 2 presentations. Mr. Eric Hill, MetroPlan Orlando, gave a presentation on the MetroPlan Orlando 2023-2024 traffic signal retiming before and after study. The second presentation was by Mr. Lenny Barden, City of Altamont Springs, on TSMO activities within the city, including a demonstration of software used for assessing pavement conditions in real time. The next meeting of the TSMO Advisory Committee is on December 5th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions from the board members? Lisa, anyone has their hands raised?
No hands raised.
Thank you. This time we'll move on to public comments on action items only. Lisa, do we have any requests?
I have not received any.
And so there's no one online that has their hands raised?
There are no hands raised online.
Thank you. This time we'll go to consent agenda, which is item number 8. Consent agenda as presented. Is there direction from the board?
Approval. Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor of the motion, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you. We'll now move on to action items, which is the approval of the FY 25-26 30-31 Transportation Improvement Plan TIP. We'll hear from staff.
Good morning, board members. This morning we'll be presenting 12 TIP amendments. Each of these items are found in section 2 of your agenda packets. The first set of the first 6 of those are actually legislative appropriations directly from our state representatives and senators directly to local governments. Many local governments were recipients of that, including Osceola County, City of Kissimmee, Altamont Springs, City of Oviedo, City of Maitland, as well as City of Winter Park. About $10 million of legislative appropriations came into the work program, and then $10 million of SU went back into the state work program to balance those funds out. Next set of projects are railroad improvements. These are federal funds targeted for upgrading signal cabinets as well as surface railroad surface improvements. Majority of those are in the east of the Lake Nona area in the rural area, and then one of them is in in the Silver Star area. And then this last one here is new funds, adding additional $3 million to an existing line item of the Transportation Improvement Program, additional FTA, Federal Transit Administration funds for the Section 5310 funds, excuse me, provide additional funds for links to provide services for the elderly and transportation disadvantage. 5310 in this instance here is primarily for like Meals on Wheels and other food delivery services for those eligible populations. So with that, 12 amendments, looking for your approval today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Before we get to a motion, is there any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to make sure we're not moving any projects out. We're just adding the additional ones in front of us, correct?
Correct. Because of the new funds with the legislative appropriations, additional SU funds were used to balance all other projects. So all new, nothing was jeopardized or deferred because of these amendments.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Lisa, do you have any hands raised?
No, sir.
Is there a direction or a motion?
Motion to approve, Jada.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. There needs to be a roll call vote. Lisa?
Yes. Arrington, Bates,
Yay.
Constantine.
Yes.
Delari,
Yes.
Demmings,
Yes.
Dyer,
Yeah.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Grebe, Janer,
Yes.
Capalusis,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Simrad, Commissioner Jordan Smith,
Yeah.
Mr. Stephen Smith,
Yeah.
Uribe,
Yeah.
Woodruff.
Yes.
That concludes the roll call and that motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. This time move on for informational items for acknowledgement. It's presented to us on tab 10, section 3 is direction from the board for acknowledgement. Is there a motion?
Second, Scott.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye, pose like sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Well, now we'll move on to other businesses and presentations. We have a status update on the 2050 MPT cost feasibility projects. Section 4.
Good morning and thank you. Today's status update will predominantly be a preview of the 2050 MTP and the entirety of the documents in preparation for the board to take action on this plan at your next meeting in December. So looking back, we began this journey in January of 2024 with collecting our background data and existing conditions, collaboratively developed our goals and objectives and our vision for 2050, as well as identifying the drivers of change that would influence the path that we take to achieve those goals and objectives. From there, we completed multiple technical analyses, a detailed needs assessment for the entire region, and this year really focused on looking at our funding scenarios and how various investment policies could influence what we can achieve through 2050. All of that was collaboratively developed and culminated in the development of our cost feasible plan, which we've been talking about for the past few weeks as well. And then looking forward, we will be talking pretty soon about the adoption of the 2050 MTP next in 4 weeks from now, but really starting to then focus on its implementation. And throughout the entirety of this process, we have had both public and agency participation to guide the development of the 2050 MTP, which we will be reflecting on a little bit later in this presentation. But of the 2050 MTP items, the 4 key requirements for the development of the plan have been met, including covering a minimum of a 20-year planning horizon, updating it every 5 years, being cost feasible and fiscally constrained, as well as incorporating data-informed decision-making processes. And then we have spoken at length throughout this development process about the different planning emphasis areas throughout the plan's development, knowing that the MTP is both multimodal and multifaceted by design. All of these topics are reflected in the 2050 MTP documentation that is published on our website right now for draft review. And in terms of our public participation requirements, we have also met these items, providing reasonable opportunities to be involved for the public, which was done through both in-person and online engagement, making information available electronically, seeking input from traditionally underserved communities, as well as using visualization techniques and plain language to facilitate meaningful conversations throughout the plan's development. And the draft 2050 MTP is comprised of 20 different chapters, following the process through which we developed the plan. It's really focusing on that introduction, goals and objectives, drivers of change elements at the beginning, our planning emphasis areas, including congestion management, community health and housing, environmental stewardship, as well as freight and goods movement. And then our multimodal needs assessment, looking at each of these individual modes and then culminating it together as we see in chapter 13 under multimodal needs to make sure we don't have any duplicates as we're looking at things from unique, discrete perspectives. And then our public participation findings, which was recently published on our website, as well as moving into that prioritization, financial resources, and investment policy documentation, culminating in the cost feasible plan and ultimately the conclusion and implementation process. All of these chapters are published as drafts on our website right now for public review. And there are also over 20 different appendices and technical reports for anyone who wants to deep dive into the weeds with us on any of these particular topics. But today we're really going to focus on chapter 19, which is the cost feasible project lists. This is the longest chapter within the MTP, again, due to these specific tables. And these tables document which transportation projects are considered cost feasible over the next 25 years, the priority order of those projects, and the unfunded transportation needs within our region. These tables are the same ones that we began talking about back in August, with minor formatting changes to make them a little more consistent with all of our other MTP documentation. So there should not be any surprises here today. And then the cost feasible tables are organized following a simple four-step programming structure, beginning with our existing and committed projects. These are ones that are fully programmed through construction in the Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP. Then we have projects that are in progress, ones that are partially programmed in the TIP, but not yet finished or fully funded for construction. Then we have cost feasible projects, and these are projects that are new, that have not been started, but are considered high priorities and financially feasible by 2050. And then we have our unfunded needs. These are projects that are needed within our region, but are not able to be afforded based on the reasonably available revenues through 2050. And as you've likely seen, or your staff have seen through the review of chapter 19 in its draft form, the vast majority of funds within the region are going to be used to finish the projects that are in progress. There are very few new transportation needs that are being introduced as part of the 2050 plan. So going through some of the key tables this morning, we're going to start with the state highway system cost feasible list, which includes 51 cost feasible projects in totality, all of which are estimated to cost just over $1 billion through the life of this plan. This includes capacity, multimodal, safety, and operational improvements on a multitude of state roadways throughout our region. This particular list is shown in Table 19-5 of the draft 2050 MTP. Then we have the high injury network safety countermeasures cost feasible list, which includes 2 programs focused on implementing safety improvements, totaling an estimated $146 million through the life of this plan. The 2 programs will support safety improvements identified on both the state highway system and off of the state highway system. Once selected, these projects will be implemented by local governments through the FDOT Local Agency Program, or FDOT LAP program. And this list of programs is shown in Table 19-8 of the draft 2050 MTP. Then we have the urban corridor improvements cost feasible list, which really focuses on context sensitive improvements. We have 21 that are considered cost feasible through 2050, totaling an estimated $123 million of investment through the life of this plan. And these projects again focus on multimodal improvements on a myriad of roadways here in Central Florida. This list of projects is shown in Table 19-9 of the draft 2050 MTP. Then we have our TSMO, Transportation Systems Management and Operations project list, which includes 27 cost feasible projects totaling $120 million of investment through 2050. And these projects focus on intersection improvements and technology enhancements within our region. Again, once these projects are selected to move forward and ready to move forward, they will be implemented via the LAP program by our local governments. And this particular list is shown in Table 19-11 of the draft 2050 MTP. And we have our active transportation needs list, which includes 1 program and 8 regional trail projects that are considered cost feasible through the year 2050, totaling an estimated $44.7 million of investment. Now, this particular program is the School Mobility and Hazardous Walking Conditions program that allows MetroPlan Orlando to cover cost overages on FDOT Safe Routes to School projects. So we've had a lot of success with that program, and we're continuing it through the 2050 plan as well. This list of projects is shown in Table 19-10 of the draft 2050 MTP. Only 2 more tables to go through, I promise. So in terms of our transit list, this is where it's a little bit different. We're looking at regional transit and consolidating our overall needs for both Sunrail, Lynx, and regional transit needs in one location. So this has a blending of funding. Of the $13.3 billion of funding over the life of this plan, $6.1 million per year will be contributed by MetroPlan Orlando, consistent with the recommended funding policy for this plan. Then the remainder, the next $9.5 billion over 20 years will be used for existing Lynx services and capital costs. That includes other federal, state, and local funds outside of MetroPlan Orlando. And then the last $3.7 billion over the next 20 years will be used for existing Sunrail service and capital costs, again, using other federal, state, and local fundings outside of MetroPlan Orlando. The full list of projects and the needs within our transit system are shown in Table 19-12 of the 2050 MTP. Then we also have our toll-funded and expressway improvements list, which represents $9.1 billion of investment by the Florida's Turnpike Enterprise and the Central Florida Expressway Authority over the life of the 2050 plan. These projects are included in the 2050 MTP for planning consistency purposes, and additional information about these toll-funded projects are available on each organization's website, respectively. And those are the highlights of our cost feasible chapter. And there are a few other tables included in Chapter 19 and Appendix Q, which do include our interstate highway system and strategic intermodal system list, really looking at our freight corridors. Then we have our aviation needs lists, and then local Orange, Osceola, and Seminole County and their municipalities projects. All of these are included in the 2050 plan for planning consistency purposes. But with that, let's switch our focus to the public and agency participation that has been included in the 2050 plan's development. We had 4 primary means of engagement throughout this 2050 plan's development, and all of which have been incredibly valuable in shaping the results of this plan. We've had multiple presentations at our advisory committee and board meetings, 78 so far, not including this cycle. We've had 11 MTP technical workshops where we have been able to discuss key topics for the plan's development at length in 1.5-hour virtual format sessions. And we've also had interdisciplinary interviews where we've had detailed discussions on those planning emphasis areas with subject matter experts to be able to incorporate their unique insights and expertise into the development of the plan. And we've had over 36 in-person engagement events thus far. That number has increased here in November, but I don't have those new results yet. Plus all of our online engagement, public comments, survey results, and other items that are still being tabulated. But as of the end of September, we had been able to reach and incorporate feedback from over 13,400 unique individuals. So we're very proud of that. And that does not include any of the local agency coordination meetings that we've had, which would be another 100 or so plus or minus meetings as well. But how have we used that feedback? It's been incorporated from all those different avenues into shaping the plan, with the public feedback primarily being used to assist with those selection of our goals and objectives way back at the beginning of the project, the identification of preferred project improvement types, which influenced our needs assessment, the prioritization of those projects and that methodology, as well as the MTP funding policy. And then in terms of our technical feedback, it influenced those 4 areas as well, but also our needs assessment and multimodal evaluations, the technical analyses of those planning emphasis areas and framing those topics into the transportation process, and then the development of the funding policy and how that shaped our cost feasible plan. Mr. Hutman mentioned our public meeting in his announcements this morning, but with the publication of all of the 2050 MTP documentation, the formal public review period for the 2050 plan has begun, and we kicked that off with our public meeting. In a break with past formats, MetroPlan Orlando made this public meeting an open house style event at which attendees could browse any of our 13 different stations to learn more about various aspects of the plan's development. and speak with subject matter experts at each of the individual tables. Each attendee was given a map to help them navigate the room, but also so they could check mark which stations they had been able to attend, visit, and learn more about. They had a comment form on the back of that map that they could turn in at the end of the evening to share their thoughts on the plan as well as the meeting itself. So the returned passports and maps and the conversations held throughout the meeting indicated that our most visited stations, most popular, were our 2050 issues and drivers of change, so those future trends: safety, vision zero, transit, and technology and transportation systems management and operations. At the end of the night, we did receive 5 in-person comments. The topics were varied, really asking about transit, Brightline, safety, roundabouts, traffic signals, and the need for more multimodal transportation. And they also told us that they enjoyed the public meeting format, in which they could choose the topics they wanted to learn more about and talk to people who had developed those portions of the plan. We've posted a video version of the public meeting content, which is available on YouTube and at metroplanorlando.gov. And this video covers the high points of all the information stations included, and images and video clips from the attendees. So while the public meeting was the kickoff for the public review period, we are having multiple other avenues through which people can share their thoughts and feedback on the plan, not only through these in-person meetings and the public comment elements associated with our advisory committee and board meetings, but also through email, physical mail, voicemail. We're not going to be picky, however people want to give us their thoughts and feedback. But our team's next steps do include collecting and responding to the comments that we received during this public review period, and preparing for you all to take action on this plan at your next meeting here in December. So as we look forward after the plan's adoption, our focus will switch from the development of the plan to its implementation. So as we've talked about in past meetings, the MTP does serve as the foundation for all federally funded transportation projects through MetroPlan Orlando. And the top priority projects from the soon-to-be adopted 2050 MTP, you'll see refreshed and represented within the prioritized project list next calendar year. And as funding becomes available for those projects and they're ready to move forward, you'll then see them programmed in the Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP, which will also be an action item for you next year. So with that, that concludes my preview of the 2050 MTP, all the work that we've done over the past 2 years. Does anyone have any questions?
Jayla, thank you very much for your presentation. Definitely have a lot of information. You've all been working very hard on this. I'm glad it's coming to fruition and be taken action at the next meeting. Anyone here have any questions? Commissioner?
Taylor, thank you so much for all your due diligence and your hard work. I've seen you outside of this and all that you do to get engaged. You know, when we were in Providence, Rhode Island, Broward did a whole presentation on how they've gotten the public engaged. And ironically, they're using influencers, right? So they had Cedric the Entertainer. They'd even done a video with Johnny Depp, but it went rogue, so they weren't able to use it. And all of these other things. And to me, when you think of us as a region with 3 counties and only having 20 attendees, that's really sad to me, right? Because this is our future. This is our future transportation plan. And I would love to see us kind of get outside of the box to get people engaged. Last night, I spoke to a room of 75 judges and attorneys, and I brought up transportation, and none of them knew statistically how many car-dependent people we have in this town. And I asked everyone, I'm like, who in here uses public transit? And it was crickets. And we know 92% of our public uses their car, and mostly single riders. So we're talking about 8% on the other factor. And when we talked about it, it was like a light bulb going on, right? And I just feel like somehow we're missing our message to the people with something that is a part of their life every day. And then my other question was, we hear a lot about timing of lights, and we were recently at our cohort here, you know, with MetroPlan, and we are a huge part of it. And I realize there's county roads, state roads, and so forth. But have we ever taken that on? Because I've seen some in Seminole, like Redbug and all that down there. Have we ever taken that on to show some improvement to the public and really focused a little bit on synchronization of all the lighting to help get an engagement of the public more involved in our transportation? And then my last thing is, Can I receive a copy of the prioritization list and the orders that we have going on for our updates as you guys are finalizing this? But just a thought, you know, and you're hearing lots of people around the country trying to do outside weird things to get people involved, and just curious on that.
So I'll start with the last question first. So the draft cost feasible plan with all of those results is available on our website, and I'll make sure you get a link directly to that. So we've got that already published. Going back to the public engagement, while the public meeting had 20 attendees for that in-person event, we've had multiple other in-person events throughout the life of this plan, and we've been able to include their feedback as well. Just from our in-person events only, at the end of September, we had 11,466 participants from all of our in-person events that we've done. So we have been working really hard to make sure that we get as much out there as possible, but it's good to hear more about what other MPOs are doing so we can look at those new processes moving forward. So I know our comms team is here listening, so we'll be able to brainstorm as we look forward. And then the second question about the synchronization, the retiming of signals, I would actually ask Eric about that one.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members. So every year we have a signal retiming program. So next month I'll be reporting to you on our 23-24 retiming program. And so each year we do a before and after study to show the improvements. We also solicit roadways and intersections from all the jurisdictions on what intersections and roadways they want us to retime. The benefit cost ratio over the years has declined from when we started about 15 years ago. And the understanding that I made everyone aware of is we can only tweak so much out of traffic signal retiming because a lot of these roadways are constrained. So the retiming can only do so much. So what we are trying to do at this point is evolve our retiming program to understand what other benefits can we get from retiming. Now, in terms of how we get input from the public, anyone that drives a car and sitting at a traffic light has a complaint. And so the jurisdictions receive those complaints from citizens. In terms of going out and doing presentations, we haven't done much of that. Most of it's done here in this room and then on our YouTube videos. But that information is made available. Anytime someone wants a roadway looked at in terms of retiming, we do address that and respond. But in terms of the outreach on that retiming program, we do not do a whole lot in terms of that. But we are aware of the fact that people want their traffic signals to be coordinated, and we do address those issues. But again, there is an extent or a limit to how much we can do with retiming, but we do what we can.
Thank you, Eric. Commissioner, then I'll get to the side.
Yes, it talked about the signal retiming, and we had a company that came in from South Korea, and they use AI with their signalization timing and such. But when they looked at our system, I guess I don't know if it's the cameras or there's something that's kind of outdated for them. But I don't know if we've looked at that further, because it seems like that would, I mean, that's the future. It can tell however many, cars down the road who's coming into that intersection, and using AI to be able to really do that timing in real time, what's happening on the ground. And maybe a pilot would be beneficial, but it'd have to be enough of a stretch and enough intersections as well.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yes, we are aware of how much AI can make improvements in our retiming programs, but we haven't looked at doing a pilot. We can, I would imagine, but that's where we are. Right now, we are doing an update. We're doing retiming of roadways right now. We started our next retiming. And again, we will continue to report out. But I think a lot of it is, or for me at least, we use a benefit cost ratio. And while that does a good job of showing how well we move vehicles, I think there are other there's other value to our traffic signal retiming program we want to focus on. But yes, I agree with you, and we are aware that AI can
Yeah,
provide some
because
benefits.
you're talking a capital improvement in order to, even have a pilot, but I think it would be very beneficial in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mayor?
Synchronization sounds really good. But on 436, I can tell you, all you need is somebody to hit the button that they want to cross 436, and it messes up every light after that.
Is that what
So-
you're doing, Mayor, every day? You're doing that?
I'm tempted sometimes. So how does synchronization work if you've got people wanting to cross that road? And it's sometimes 45 seconds because it's a wide road there, and it just throws everything off.
Yeah, that's been one of the areas that when we started this program was a concern by our traffic engineers. That part of the phase throws off everything. And again, when I mentioned there's other value to our traffic signal retiming program besides moving cars, pedestrians and bicycles. Those are the areas that we need to focus on with our signal retiming program, especially at those intersections where there is a demand. Not every intersection has a high demand, but those that do have high demand, we want to integrate that in the retiming program.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else from the board have any comments? I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't see you. Okay.
One of the simplest things I think in helping with traffic movement is blinking left turn signals. And DOT has been doing a good job of experimenting or piloting that, especially on the trail. But how many times you pull up to a light and it's green to go through, but you have the red left turn signal and there's nobody coming in the other direction. And I think that's a pretty simple way to make some of the intersections more effective in terms of moving traffic through. And there's an expense to it, obviously, but Secretary, have you guys been doing more of that? Or maybe you had a conversation about that sometime last 6 months?
Yes, Mayor, we continue to roll those out. New projects come along, but also we have some set aside funding which is a limited amount to be able to add those, where they can demonstrate some improvement. So we are continuing to roll them out in a methodical manner.
Appreciate that.
Anyone else have any comments? Mayor, any hands raised? Lisa?
No hands raised.
Thank you, Taylor. We're going to go to our next presentation, which is for FDOT D5 tentative work program.
Good morning, Chair and board members. I'm the Director of Transportation Development for T District 5. For those I've not got a chance to meet yet, I have just stepped into this role to take over for Jack Atkins, who retired just before the summertime. So I'm excited to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to present on the highlights for the district's 5-year tentative work program, which outlines our next upcoming 5-year plan. All right, if you're not familiar with FDOT's work program, it is a needs-based plan that ensures the development and maintenance of Florida's transportation infrastructure for the upcoming 5-year period. This is an annual process, and it includes all aspects of transportation, which includes transit, airports, rail projects, as well as traditional activities like transportation planning, engineering and design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction. Across the state, each district develops the plan with regional partners based on the following investment priorities: safety programs, system preservation, and capacity. With the upcoming legislative session starting in January as opposed to March, this cycle is considered a compressed cycle. And the timeline on this slide shows some of those key dates. We've already had our public hearing, which was in the end of October. And last week, we submitted our tentative work program to our central office in Tallahassee. We're now in the portion of the timeline where the tentative work program is reviewed by FDOT executive leadership. And then later in the month will be reviewed by the Florida Transportation Commission to ensure alignment. The plans are then compiled and the tentative work program is submitted to the Governor of Washington's office. I did that on purpose just to see if I had everybody's paying attention. All right, good. I don't have a fact checker, so I just wanted to see if someone would come up. But it goes to the Governor of Florida's office and the legislature to evaluate through the spring and then finalized in that May, June timeframe. So it does get adopted in July 1st.
Jim, that was an engineering joke, right?
Wasn't it? And that will be my last one. I'm just going to tell you, I didn't want to look secretary shaking his head. So the 5-year work program is designed to meet the area's needs while being balanced against available resources, which come from both state and federal sources. There are several key factors that influence our ability to balance our plan. The first factor is allocations and revenue. Now, Secretary Tyler had reported in a previous board meeting, the state funds decreased due to conservative revenue projections during this summer's Florida Revenue Estimating Conference. This is a result of the projected reductions in fuel tax and rental car surcharges. However, as a result of ongoing population growth in Central Florida, District 5 did receive a slight increase in its statutory funding formula, which is, like I said, is based on population and that motor fuel tax. However, they are still projected to see a slight resource decrease in our area. The second factor is decisions, policies, and statutes. And during the last legislative session, House Bill 7301 had resource impacts due to aviation fuel tax and dock stamp changes. This resulted in reduction of revenues to the department by almost $800 million over the next 5 years. That's statewide. So under the statutory requirement portion, decisions are made to adjust funding based on needs. And those need programs include our maintenance, bridge replacement, and then ancillary structure repair, which is what we use to replace aging mast arms for traffic signals. The last factor is our economic variables. And at the bottom of this slide, DOT continues to see fluctuations in construction costs driven by labor and material availability and pricing. What you see there are cost trends for several of our most utilized cost groups from our last fiscal year. You can see the variability in earthwork and base materials, which is the first and third chart. However, we are seeing a slight stabilization in our asphalt, which is that middle chart. So given these revenue reductions or the anticipated reductions and the relative flatline forecasts, the following priorities guided our decision-making process, and that's maintaining preservation projects, maintaining safety-related projects, and minimizing impacts to top regional priorities within Orange, Osceola, and Seminole County. So this table displays the amount of annual funding allocated to Orange, Osceola, and Seminole counties with the upcoming 5-year tentative work program. And I'd like to note these values do not include the Moving I-4 Forward initiative. I'll actually show that on another slide coming up. But you can see in that bottom right corner, our tentative 5-year work program totals just over $2 billion with a B across the 3-county region. Oops. Hit the wrong button. Thank you. So here's a breakdown by general work mixes for the upcoming work program, and I'll just hit some of the highlights. You'll see the majority of this goes to our multimodal efforts, which is transit, rail, and aviation, then followed by capacity. Just under 20% go to road and intersection safety, and then just under 15% is our preservation. The last items are operations, ped and bike safety, maintenance, and then miscellaneous aspects, which include truck parking and corridor lighting. So this was the slide that I referenced earlier. This is our Moving I-4 Forward effort. You'll see that the $425 million here represent additional funding within Orange and Osceola County. And then there's also a website link there if you'd like to get additional information on this project. All right, so now that I've covered the timeline and just kind of a high-level breakdown of the work program, I'm going to spend the next few minutes and the remainder of the presentation talking about some priority projects, sharing information on new project and phases that were added this cycle, and then summarizing some of the changes to the previously adopted programming. I'm going to start with State Road 50 in Eastern Orange County. This project was segmented earlier to maintain construction in fiscal year 27. The original plan was to break the project at Perry Lane, which is located close to Chuliota Road. And then we were going to start on that eastern section, which included the Chuliota Road intersection, because that's where the majority of the crashes and some of the deficiencies occurred. However, we did hear feedback from our partners and the public, and there was specific concern with having a 6-lane section, then going to a 4-lane section, and then providing another 6-lane section, and concern that bottlenecks may develop. Additionally, there was also utility challenges with constructing that eastern section first, which would result in a gap in some of the utilities for Orange County. So we adjusted the segmenting to reflect the limits that are shown here. And we're going to continue to maintain construction in fiscal year 27. And the first portion will be from Avalon Park Boulevard to the Econ River Bridge. And then the next segment, which is shown in yellow, will go from the bridge to Chuliota Road, and that will start in fiscal year 29. In Osceola County, there are 2 intersection improvements along US 192. One is at Old Town, and this is a safety project with improved pedestrian facilities. The second is at Celebration Avenue, which includes the replacement of some aging mast arms to maintain operability and safety. Both projects will begin design next fiscal year in 27 and then construction in 29. You also see on the right side of the panel, this is our congestion relief project at John Young Parkway and Pleasant Hill Road, which is a MetroPlan priority project. This project goes beyond our traditional intersection improvements, and it aims to relieve congestion at one of the most congestion intersections in the district, might even be one of the most congestion intersections in the entire state. Securing project for a single fiscal year has definitely been a challenge. Therefore, we are looking to segment this project into two different construction activities. I'm not going to read the whole project number. I'll just call them -7, -8, and -9. But -7 is the existing project that we're completing the design and right away, and that will remain as is. But we've created a -8, which is also phase 1, and a -9. The -8 will begin construction in fiscal year 28, and the scope of this project includes construction of the Quadrant Road and stormwater ponds, as well as the realignment of the Oaks Boulevard side street, and then improvements to both northbound and southbound John Young Parkway. Phase 2 will construct the remaining aspects of the project, including the overpass over Pleasant Hill Road. Freight traffic is an essential part of the state's growth, and I-4 is the most critical corridor for truck parking needs. In fact, you may have heard Secretary Tyler refer to this corridor as a truck parking desert. The investment on this slide shows the regional freight parking demand along I-4 corridor in the MetroPlan area will be met with sites at Osceola, Orange, and Seminole County. We even have 2 additional sites that are up in Volusia County. But we have programmed Orange and Osceola sites in the upcoming work program. The Osceola truck parking site will commence construction in fiscal year 27, and then the Orange County facility will begin design also in fiscal year 27. So our resurfacing program, as I mentioned, preservation of our existing infrastructure remains a priority, and this includes projects within our resurfacing program. Currently, Orange County has 13 resurfacing projects programmed over the next 3 years, which total $83 million. Some of the key locations that are included in this programming cycle are State Road 423 from Trans World Drive to US 441, State Road 50 from Bennett Road to the State Road 417 interchange, and then US 441 from the Osceola County line to north of Cardone. We have 6 resurfacing projects in Osceola County, which total just under $85 million. And some of the projects that we have been programmed this past go around was 2 projects in State Road 60, which is one starts east of the Kissimmee River Bridge to Blanky Bay Slough, and then from Peavine Road to just west of the Florida's Turnpike interchange. There's also a project on 192 from Nova Road to Hibiscus Road. Now, within Seminole County, there are also 6 resurfacing projects. I will say that there is a typo on this slide. Instead of $83 million, it's actually $63 million. And then one of the key projects that are programmed in this last go around was the 1792 from Normandy Road to Raven Avenue. So before I took the position as director, I did serve as the district traffic ops engineer. So the projects on this slide actually put a smile on my face because I know that the impacts that these types of projects can have on the area. The traffic operation improvements added this cycle included 2 bundles, which focus on smart traffic signal upgrades, software and hardware. Also curb extensions and improvements for pedestrians and bicyclists between key downtown Orlando destinations such as Creative Village, UCF Downtown, and Link Central Station. There are also several mast arm rebuild projects in Apopka and Orlando as well. This programming cycle also included several local agency projects which enhance multi-mode connectivity and accessibility. Here we have construction phases that are programmed for multi-mode improvements between the limits here identified for these 3 corridors. These were previous requests from last year's programming cycle, so we were really happy to have the ability to include those in this year's programming effort. So I would say occasionally it does become necessary to defer a project from its originally programmed fiscal year. This slide lists projects that were deferred this past programming cycle. The 2 projects on the left portion of the slide were deferred due to the need for it to purchase right-of-way, which required a little bit of extra time. The other projects were actually due to requests from local partners and reprioritizing some of our projects, and that's the case with the 2 that are on the right side. So like deferrals, changes do occur, which also result in deletion of program projects. And while the term deletion I know has a negative tone to it, it does not always mean that the work or improvement is permanently deleted from the work program. Often it's just the result of an administrative need, like updating the programming, which is the case for the bulk of what you see here. On the left side of the slide, the top 2 projects were efforts that are still going to remain in the work program. It's just that we're choosing a different delivery method. They're going to be built through a district-wide contract as opposed to a standalone procurement. Also on the left side, the bottom left was the previous discussed State Road 50 project. Due to the change in the segments, there was a utility phase that could be deleted, but the project or the utility phase will still be included in the other items that were programmed. And then on the right side, the projects in Osceola County were deleted due to the work being accomplished by the agency or by another overlapping project. So again, all that work is still being provided. So in closing, I'd like to highlight the District 5 Work Program Public Hearing website, as well as our Central Florida Roads or CFL Roads website, where you can look up District 5 project information. Feel free to visit these if you'd like. I've also got my contact information if you'd like to reach out to me directly. And I thank you for your time and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jim. A lot of information as well. Any questions from the board? Mr. Reedy? Okay. Commissioner?
Thank you.
Harrington?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, John Young Parkway at Pleasant Hill Road, and I'm gonna have to talk about it. And the main reason I'm talking about, I've already had a conversation with the secretary, and I know he's looking at some other ways to continue to move it forward. But this is a project that is now 20 years behind the original construction date of FDOT. And now I understand it's had a lot of iterations in that 20-year period, but your summation of the project couldn't be better said. One of the worst intersections in the entire state of Florida. And yet we're continuing to push it out 20 years. I remember being elected and it was going to be 2010 was right away and construction was 2012. And so are there any other projects within our 5-year work program that have been delayed 20 years? And there might be, I don't know. I don't know what's happened in Seminole if something was funded.
We've had a couple,
taken away
30 years.
and
We've
put
had one
back.
over
So-
almost 30 years.
Almost
We
30 years.
just finished it.
Okay, but it was actually funded in the work program and
It's
then
been
got
funded a
removed.
number of years and it's
Okay.
been about 30 years. We just finished it.
Because it just, once again, the worst
are all
intersection
getting
in
older.
Central Florida. You know, I think that plays a lot. The worst intersection in Central Florida. And so I just want to put that back out there. And Secretary, I appreciate you and your efforts you're trying to do, but it's just a little wild that we continue to add new things, but yet we don't get to the actual problems that still exist today. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, great. Commissioner?
Yes, I was interested when you talked about a couple of projects and intersections here that you're starting to use design build. Could you talk about that a little bit more, what the benefit is, if it's a time, I would assume time saving, cost saving, but then what could the downside be as well?
So like I kind of largely speaking with design build, a lot of times it's speed because you have the design effort also going along hand in hand with the construction effort. So that's usually one of the biggest advantages. There are some other alternative design methods that are kind of expanding the design build world. The I-4 moving Florida forward is a perfect example where it's very unique. We're just learning about it. In fact, have a project in Volusia County that we're targeting to use that, where the department hires 3 teams, design build teams, contractors and engineers, and have a very open, collaborative design period for several months to come up with ideas and then pick one of those 3. It really fosters good competition, great ideas. There is a cost upfront that we're paying because we're working with 3 firms, but the biggest benefit is you are seeing some of these huge cost savings in innovation later on down the line, which is the case with that I-4 moving Florida forward. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments for the board members? Commissioner?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. So one of the projects that you referenced is in District 5 of Orange County, which is the Chuliota 419 Avalon, that East Colonial stretch of Highway 50. And also it has been delayed in terms of the construction, and while not the most lethal section in the state of Florida, it is lethal. We have many crosses lining the highway where pedestrians and bicyclists have been hit by cars. We also have a lot of car accidents that are occurring at some of the specific intersections. And I want to just emphasize that the delays, impact lives. And is this, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but is there a priority metric that's given to safety where you see a high fatality rate of pedestrians, bicyclists? Because that's that Bithlow area, a lot of mobile homes. And so many, and there's no sidewalks. So many of the people are walking on the shoulder of the road. And we have an increasing amount of also unhoused people that are living in that area. So it's becoming even more dangerous. So is there that safety metric to ensure that projects like what Commissioner Arrington referenced and this one are not further delayed, but they move up on the benchmark list?
Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, the department, there's lots of different performance measures and metrics that we use to help make decision and prioritizing projects. We do have high crash segments, things of that nature. I do know that that your staff, specifically Mr. Sanders, Mr. Blackadar, have emphasized over and over the priority for this corridor. I believe this corridor is one that was slated due to capacity issues, but then the safety improvements are also going to be included in our design and high on the list.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm sorry, I'll say that I think it might have actually been suggestions and coordination from you. We're actually modifying the design to include some additional pedestrian crossings. I think it's between Avalon Park Boulevard and Tanner Road that were not in the original design to help further improve that safety for pedestrians and bicyclists.
Great. And then are you pretty firm on the date of that start of 2029? Is that you're secure in there?
So I will say as long as the legislature and governor approve our work program, that's what we are getting our shovels ready for, is that fiscal year 27.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioner Reby?
Jim, thank you. I will tell you, Jack Adkins had us very spoiled, so we expect that and more. No, I'm just like.
I will tell him you said that.
Yeah, and Secretary Tyler, I want to just, acknowledge all your hard work in getting us funding and making sure that Central Florida is still a big part of that pie, knowing how rising costs and competitive. As I said, I was in Miami last week and wow, I didn't even recognize the city with all the stuff that they're doing transportation wise to prepare for FIFA World Cup and all of those things. But I did want to add also, I appreciate like the resurfacing, but I feel bad if I miss this. You were going through and Jim saying how much financially we were at every step, but as a region, how much money are we receiving, knowing that I think isn't the new incoming budget somewhere around 13 to 15 billion dollars for transportation for Florida? Just curious, percentage wise, how much of that pie, hearing Commissioner Arrington, hearing Commissioner Semrad, and knowing that costs continue to increase. Can you give me like a round number of what we're gonna see, an exclusion of moving I-4 forward? Because I saw how much the legislature was very gracious to them to get that done, but just curious to know if you had that figure with you.
I-
I'm gonna help them out.
Can I take a guess?
So that's a great question, Commissioner. Order of magnitude, about 20%.
That's
About
awesome.
20%, comes to District 5 of the overall state budget.
No,
Transportation.
thank you. And knowing
And
how
that doesn't include what you're gonna hear from the Florida Turnpike. That's
right,
just
no,
District 5.
Turnpike is
about
very
20%.
exciting. I know I've sat through it once, yay. But I also wanted to say, and that's really awesome knowing that Brevard is also getting part of that to help elevate them. I love their motto, from NASA to neighborhoods. So it's really great. But thank you, Jim. And it's good to see. I know we all want it here and now, and we know it takes time and there's so many tributes to it, but I think a lot of us feel like we kind of ran on these issues, and it's like Osceola may, but we have term limits, so we have expiration dates and we'll leave on that issue. So it's nice to hear these things actually in the books, scheduled to move forward. So great job, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Jim, so just quick, I just want to say, thank you, you and Secretary, as it relates to the, resurfacing and safeway improvements on West Colonial, starting from John Young westbound up and through Pine Hills. Got a lot of feedback on that, good feedback in terms of the aesthetics and how it's looking. It just looks like a whole new neighborhood. So I do appreciate that. Certainly the folks at the fairgrounds appreciate that because it's right kind of their front door. Would love to know, after this meeting, you can just email me when it will be finalized. I know there's still some things you guys are cleaning up, so I don't know when it's going to end. So if you can get that information to me, that would be great. But otherwise, good feedback from everyone there. They're happy with the project, and thank you.
Yes, sir. I'll send it up.
Thank you. Mayor?
Since I have you and Secretary Tyler here, for almost a year, I have been getting calls about when we, the city, are going to finish 434, 436. And I've been relieved to tell them that it's a state project, but I haven't given your phone numbers out, so they're not calling you. But we've seen one corner finished, and the next thing we know, they're back again doing something else to that corner. And right now, it's certain parts of it are ripped up again. Is there an end date for finishing that intersection?
Yeah, Mayor, I'll get you the information on that. There is, so on that CFLroads .com website, it has all of our construction projects, design projects that are there, and they do have estimated completion dates on there, but I'll get you something more firm and send it to you directly. Yes, ma'am.
Estimated is, if there's something better than estimated, that.
Sure,
would
and
be
I know that can be
good.
frustrating because sometimes it might say spring of 2026.
I'd like to
so.
pass that on to my
Absolutely.
residents.
I'll get
Thank
you that.
you.
Thank you, Mayor. See no other comments? We're going to conclude your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This time we hear from the Turnpike regarding their tentative work program.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Carol Scott. I'm with Florida's Turnpike Enterprise, and I'm happy to be here today to talk about our work program, our proposed work program for fiscal 27 through fiscal 31. But before I do, I just want to take a second to introduce a face that you will become very familiar with, Lauren Hughes. He is our new MPO liaison for Central Florida. So he will be your MPO liaison. He just started a couple weeks ago, actually the day that the TAC and the TISMO committees met. He got his badge, he came here and was introduced within the first 2 hours of working with us. So he's ready to hit the ground running. He actually is new to Central Florida, but he's been with the Department of Transportation for quite some time. He moved up here from District 4, which is the southeast part of Florida. So thank you, Lauren. So Florida's Turnpike Enterprise in Central Florida, we have our Turnpike Main Line, and then we also own and operate regional expressway roads along with our partner Central Florida Expressway Authority. So we have about 132 miles of toll facilities in the MetroPlan Orlando region. And before I dive into the next 5 years, I did just want to highlight a couple really key projects that we're calling Your Toll Dollars at Work. So one project we have under construction right now is our Sand Lake Road interchange. That's a new interchange in Orange County that'll help open up access to residential, retail, and visitor attractions. So that's under construction, and we expect it to be finished in a few years. And then we have a significant widening project on the Turnpike Main Line in Osceola County between mileposts 238 and 242. But that also includes a large divergent diamond interchange at Nolte Road. So that'll also improve traffic for the residents and commuters in that area. So that's under construction as well. So at your seat, you have an old school paper handout. This actually is all of the Turnpike projects that we're proposing in District 5. So it also includes Lake and Sumter counties. The first page shows you our recent investments, so things that are currently under construction. And then starting on page 7, that's when the Orange County projects, there's provide some more information there. And then page 9 is where Osceola County starts. And then at the end, we have a long list of projects that we don't have funded for construction yet, but have design and right-of-way and PD&E funded. So looking at our projects that we have proposed for construction in the next 5 years, we actually have a widening project that's starting right now in construction, and that's between Parton Settlement and Osceola Parkway. So we have some remaining construction funding proposed for 27. And then we have another widening project between Kissimmee St. Cloud US 192 and Parton Settlement Road. So the total funding for that is proposed to be about $180 million. So in this slide, I'm going to start at the bottom and move up. So the first thing I want to point out is that we have a new interchange that we'll be constructing at Taft Vineland Road. That's actually a project we're also coordinating closely with Orange County because they have some improvements they're making at Taft Vineland. So we're tying our improvements to theirs. But that will also open up access to Taft Vineland. We're also constructing a tandem truck parking lot there. So the Turnpike allows those large double tandem trucks to drive on the Turnpike. So we'll be constructing a new parking lot there to open up the parking lot north of that to regular semi trucks. So the next, the middle project on your slide, that's actually what we're calling phase 1 of the Orlando South Ultimate Interchange Improvement Projects. Orlando South is that large system-to-system interchange between the Beach Line and the Turnpike, OBT, very complex interchange. And we had a PD&E a couple years ago, identified many projects. So this is phase 1. So this $40 million is going to adding a couple turn lanes off of the southbound Consulate Road ramp, and also improving the OBT Consulate Drive intersection. And then as well, we're looking at adding a westbound off-ramp at La Quinta Drive off of the beach line. So that's part of that project. And then the project on the top of your slide, that's tied to the Taft Vineland interchange. So I mentioned the large tandem truck parking lot that will be built at Taft Vineland. Currently, those tandem trucks park at the Turkey Lake Service Plaza in Ocoee. So we'll be able to take that very large lot that we constructed a few years ago and convert it to the regular semi truck drivers because there's a lot of need there. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to go row by row with these, and it's in your handout as well. We have many projects in the pipeline, so to speak, for construction funding. So we have in both Orange and Osceola counties. And so one thing I do want to point out, I'm sorry, I left out Seminole. So you may have noticed, Seminole County representatives, that we don't have construction funding in the next 5 years for Seminole, but that's because we have a $300 million construction project that we have ongoing right now, and that's between Aloma and 434. Now we have a design project from 434 to 427 that we have currently that we've been coordinating with your staff. So that we'll be moving that into the pipeline looking for future funding. So our work is not done in Central Florida. And with that, I have a QR code to the public hearing website, and I can answer any questions that you may have.
Great. Ms. Jenny, you have a question?
Yes, hi, thanks for being here. Lots of great information. My question is related to the Turnpike widening projects on 192 Parton Settlement Road. I see that you have a construction being funded and completed basically on one part of it in 2027, but the rest of it goes out to 2029. I'm assuming that this portion from Parton Settlement Road, from the 192 to Parton Settlement Road, includes the overpass bridges on Parton Settlement Road. And I was wondering, so is that completion in 2029? Is that bridge overpass gonna be fast tracked? We have an issue where the rest of Parton Settlement is being widened and then everything's gonna bottleneck at that bridge. And I understand there's gonna be 2 bridges now, and that you're gonna build a new bridge, then knock down the old one and build the other one. So is that timeline to 2029, or is that any time sooner?
So let me check with the project manager on that
Yeah,
one.
could
'cause I
you
don't-
give me an update?
Sure.
It's on more or less what that is, because everybody has been calling my office. When is that gonna be done? They thought it was a new turnpike entrance. I'm like,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
that is a new bridge. It's not a new turnpike entrance, but I really didn't have the information except that maybe 2029. So this gives me a little bit more insight, but if you could get me some sort of a timeline, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments? Thank you very much. We appreciate all your hard work. That concludes our presentations. We'll now go into public comments. Lisa, do you have any requests?
Yes, I've received a speaker card from Miss Joanne Canellis.
Okay. Ms. Canellis, can you come to the podium, please? Give us your name and address for the record. You'll have 2 minutes.
Six. Now,
Thank you.
can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yeah, not gonna start over again.
No, we have that. You have your 2 minutes now. We're good.
Yeah, we need 24 hours train service, including holidays, weekends, and nighttime. And maybe some buses as well, maybe all of us if you want.
Mhm.
And of course, Scout as well,
Mhm.
please.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joanne.
You're welcome. Boy, that's much better than the last one I was here.
We're trying. Lisa, are there any other requests?
I do not see any hands raised online, and I have not received any more
All right.
requested.
Close public comments. We'll now go to board member comments. Any board members have additional comments? Okay, our next meeting will be December 10th. I would like to wish everyone a happy holiday and Thanksgiving. Please travel safe, either to your family, your friends, and your loved ones, and look forward to seeing you in December. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.